Season 4 for Coach Purcell with the goal of making this team better than it's ever been. We talked to him a little bit about the season as well as some of the new faces on this boys basketball squad. Also, who better to talk to than the two captains of the Park City boys basketball team to talk a little bit about what they are looking forward to and what they have done this summer to improve as a basketball team. It's a brand new episode of The Scoreboard, and it's coming up right now. Well, it's the fourth season for Coach Purcell, the Park City boys basketball team, and going into this year, he is finally getting some of the goals that he aspired for when he first got the job back in 2019. Here's myself talking to Coach Purcell a little bit about why he is specifically excited for this year more than years past. Hey everyone, right now we are joined by Coach Thomas Purcell of Park City boys basketball. Coach, it's been a long off season. We're so glad to have you back. How has the off season been?
The off season has been great. I took over in the fall of 2019, and one of my big goals was to turn Park City into a year-round basketball program. That was derailed in March of 2020 by COVID. We finally this year we were able to give the kids the experience they wanted to. We got to take them to Lake Tahoe. Playing a couple of really good tournaments with teams from all over the place, and get real close to our goal of playing. We wanted to play 40 games in 30 days in the month of June, and we were real close to that.
Wow, so you've had a very busy offseason. I didn't realize how much you were playing in the summer. How is the team looking now that you are kind of turning it into a 12-month program?
So probably the most encouraging thing that we saw was that our best game was against Oakland High School, and it was the last game of the summer. Oakland High School is where Dwayne Wade went. They're traditional power, and we beat them. We controlled the game and beat them good, and it really showed to me the progression of the kids, not just across 4 years, but across the summer, incorporating new kids in. And the way they meshed was just, it was fantastic. It was fun to watch as a coach.
Yeah, being able to see this team grow over the last year or so, do you think that this team is going to be more than a 4-win team, more than a 6-win team this season?
I sure hope so. Last year we won 4 games. 5 of our 22 games were against teams that were in the Final Four. So you had Bonneville, you had 2 games against Olympus, 2 against Murray. You're playing some serious competition. And we have a tough schedule again this year. We open up with 2 6A teams, and that's just the way it is. I tell the kids all the time, there's really bad 6A teams and there's really good 1A teams. We just need to be a good team. Regardless of classification, we need to play good basketball and trust one another, and I think we'll win a lot more than 4 or 6 games.
What would you say is kind of the difference this year? I mean, every year it seems like there's new players, new things. Obviously, you lose some big names in Cutter Lapine as well as Luke Verchuk. Who are some of the new names that are going to be stepping up this year?
Cutter's his little brother Bridger. He's a freshman. He made the team. But we've got Kai Lockwood, Matt Hale, our 2 captains. They're seniors. They have a lot of experience. We're really big this year for the first time in a long time. Last year we just had Verchuk. This year, we have Jake Fraley. We have Cameron Wilson. We have Cedric Donovan back. We have a lot of guys. Over 6'5", 6'6", and I used to always laugh with the team and say, how come we never have anybody my size? I hate that I'm always the biggest guy on the team. And, this year, Ty Hastings, we got 4 or 5 guys that are 6'5" or bigger, where people kind of look at our team and say, oh, that's a pretty big team.
That is something I kind of wanted to ask about. I know last year the size was kind of a big difference for your team versus a lot of other 5A teams. Are a lot of these kids coming up from JV, some of this height, some of this size that's coming up, are they coming up from JV? Because there's 5 returners and there's 12 newcomers on this team. So are they coming up from other levels, or are they coming from different schools?
They're coming up. It's pretty organic, most of our guys. We do have a couple of transfers. For most of the games, we'll dress 15 or 16 guys. But most of the growth, yeah, it has been organic. Cedric got a concussion his freshman year, which turned into POTS, which is a heart disorder, which kept him out the last 2 years. He couldn't even come to school for the rest of his freshman year. And so to have him back and playing well, guys that were really, really important to their class or really important to their team, and getting them back tied towards ACL. A lot of these guys, are coming off injury, and that was kind of that end of the summer where it's like, wow, they're healthy, they're playing together, they're playing hard. It was just, it's wonderful to see.
That is wonderful to hear and to see, and something, really bright to look forward to for this season. I did want to ask you a little bit. You mentioned him, but it is there is always, when you see a freshman on a varsity team, you got to think to yourself, who is that kid? What is he about? And why is he on the varsity squad as a freshman? And then when you see the last name with it, kind of makes a little bit of sense. Could you just talk a little bit about Bridger and what impresses you about him?
Yeah, I mean, he's a natural point guard. So to a guy who played post, a lot of things that he does are impressive. The point guard position is not a natural position for guys to have skills with. In Tahoe, we tried a couple different guys at point guard, and in some cases, we had funny results. Guys that are really good players. Duke Gordon was one of them. We tried to play him at point guard in a JV game, and it didn't work out. He's a really talented player, a great athlete, and he has no chance at point guard. But Bridger plays with a certain confidence, a certain rhythm, and it's kind of like Wayne Gretzky said about hockey, you want to play where the puck is going to be, not where it is. Point guards kind of have that intuition. They know where guys are going to be, not where they are.
It's so fascinating you bring that up. I remember our interview last year. I asked you about Cutter, and you said that he reminded you of Wayne Gretzky. Does Bridger remind you of Cutter?
Absolutely, yeah. He's a little stockier. He's a little stronger. I actually think Bridger's a little more ready to contribute right now, whereas Cutter was the program was so in flux when Cutter was a freshman that we were bringing guys up to fill the team. We didn't need to bring Bridger up. We brought Bridger up because we thought it was the best place for him, and we think he's going to be a very big piece of the team next year. But you can look at our freshman class and say, well, there might be a better player here, there might be a better player there. Maybe, but not a point guard.
And just looking down the line in 3-4 years when he's a senior, he's going to have 80-plus varsity minutes or 80-plus varsity games under his belt. So that's going to be huge as well. I do want to ask you a little bit about that. Is he going to play like a big role? Is he going to have a lot of minutes as a freshman?
He will play as a freshman. I don't know how many minutes he will have because we could have a ball handler break their ankle today in practice. That happens, okay? And then I could give you an interview and say, yeah, he's going to play a lot. If everybody stays healthy and, maybe he doesn't see as many minutes. But he wouldn't have been brought up if I didn't think he was going to play. He will start at the JV level. Okay, and I'll never keep someone on varsity if I don't think they can start at the JV level. So there's no doubt, or I'll never keep an underclassman. So both Cameron Wilson as a sophomore and Bridger Lapine as a freshman, they will both be able to start at the JV level.
I think another big name is Duke Gordon. Obviously, he had that unbelievable game where he came off the bench against Olympus last year. How important is he going to be on the offensive side of the ball this year?
Really important. And he has to play a number of different roles. We need a lot of Duke physically, and we need a lot of Duke mentally. And looking at last year, we really came together. Senior night against East, of course, last game of the season. and we drew an Alta team that we did not match up with size-wise in the playoffs. But Duke has been around and has seen it enough that he knows this team needs to peak earlier. And there has been a sense of urgency in practice, and I think Duke drives that. We don't want to be – we do want to be our best at the end of the year, but we want to be good during the year, okay? We don't just want to prepare for, our last game of the year. And I think if you look at our trajectory, we didn't win any games first trip through region. We went 0-7. Then we went 2-5. I think our first time through region, I think it'll be better and better. I think the program's on an upward trajectory right now.
There's no doubt about that. I wanted to ask you just last couple of questions from me. 4 seasons in now. This is your 4th season, I should say. What do you think you have seen, or what are you most proud of from this program?
For sure, it was surviving COVID and not missing any games due to COVID. And hopefully we provided kids a good experience during that. After 4 years, to see your plan go into place after 2019, to wait that long, it's a long wait, but it happened. The parents had faith in me, the kids had faith in me, and we made it happen. And we made it happen with great numbers. Great numbers at our camps this summer. We really went after it year-round, and everybody kept the faith through, again, COVID and a lot of really negative things that went on, not just here but in the world. The kids have been dealt a tough hand, but that will only benefit them in their lives. We might not have the next NBA player in that gym, but we might have the next great heart surgeon or guy who makes a medical breakthrough so there's not another COVID. We have the best kids in Utah, and we have leaders. I couldn't be more proud. So 4 years in, the kids that we've produced would be what I am most proud of.
Well, Coach, we absolutely cannot wait for this season. Thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate it, and good luck for the rest of the season.
And thank you.
A lot of new faces on this Park City Boys basketball squad, but 2 that are returning are both Matt as well as Kai. I talked to them a little bit about this season, their roster, and what they are looking forward to as this team is more prepared than they have ever been. Hey everyone, right now we are joined by the 2 captains of the Park City Boys basketball team. We've got Matthew Hale as well as Kai Lockwood. And guys, I cannot wait for this season. How has the offseason been? I'm going to start with Kai and then I'll come back over.
I think the offseason, I've been on the team for 4 years, and the offseason this year has really been, I think, totally different and the best it's been in the 4 years. Before we'd really not done a lot of off-season stuff. I didn't see my teammates that much in the off-season. This year, we went to Tahoe together. We played in multiple tournaments across the entire summer. We really bonded, which I think is totally different than any other team. And that's what's so different about this year's Park City team is that we're going into the season already having played tons of games together and having all this experience together, which I think is going to help us so much going into the season.
Yeah, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I mean, he basically summed it all up. I think that we've just really gotten a big jump start because last year we didn't have a very strong off season. We played maybe 1 tournament or 2 tournaments, and this year we've just played so much better together, and I think we're in a lot farther ahead than the team last year was. So.
And that's a huge thing that I kind of wanted to talk about. I mean, the last couple of seasons haven't been ideal. 4 wins last year, a couple 6-win seasons over the last couple of years. Nothing that great. But coming into this year, it seems like there's a lot more promise. How important were those Lake Tahoe games, those tournaments that you played, in your opinion?
Oh, man, they're really important. Just the fact that we all got to stay together and all hang out with each other for 5 days, that's kind of the biggest thing because I think we're all friends. I mean, we're all teammates, but in the end we should all be friends, and I think that's where we're at right now, which is pretty important.
Kai, I wanted to ask you, I remember specifically you playing alongside Luke as well as Cutter last year, and I wanted to just ask you a little bit about this specific squad. You lose some big names, but there's also a lot of up-and-coming and a lot of newcomers. What are you seeing in this roster that's going to be different from last year and years past?
The biggest thing I can say this year is that more than any year before, we play together and we play for each other. I think in previous years, Park City was lacking a lot of that like togetherness and a lot of that like being a team. In this year, I mean, disregard the individual talent. The reason we're going to be better this year is because everyone plays for each other, everyone's close with each other, everyone wants the guy next to them to succeed as much as themselves. And I think that's what's changed about this year. And that's really what comes down to winning games. I mean, individual talent's great, but the way you're going to win games is who's the better team and who plays better as a team. And I think that's why this year's team is so much better than anything else we've had.
Yeah, who would you say are some of the names or some of the new faces? There's 5 players that are returning to the team, but there's 12 newcomers on this team. So what do you think, or who do you think are some of the new names that parents, that students should look forward to at these Park City games?
I would say 2 people that have really stepped into the role. I mean, me and Matt are obviously returning, Duke's returning, but 2 people that have really stepped up this year have been Beckett and Jake, who are 2 seniors coming in this year, and they didn't play a lot last year. This year they're going to be huge for us, and I think the strides they've made in this past year and the way they've really committed to basketball. I mean, Beckett has just been amazing in the offseason, and so is Jake, and I think they're going to be huge parts of the team going forward.
This is kind of an odd question, but it's one that I do have to think about. Is Beckett Wolf coming off of a lacrosse season where he did win the state championship? That winning mentality, is that important coming into his senior year, thinking to himself like, hey, I won in lacrosse, I also want to win on the basketball court as well?
I mean, yeah, we all want to win.
Yeah.
Like Beckett, I mean, great lacrosse player and great basketball player too. I mean, he's probably the best defender we have on the team, one of the best point guards, and that winning mentality that he has, like he'll do anything to win the game, and I think that's really important for us.
Also, I think his experience from lacrosse, he doesn't back down from anyone. It doesn't matter who we're playing. We play the best players in the state, and him and the rest of us, we're not going to back down from anyone, so him bringing that over from anything he does has been great for us.
I think a big thing that kind of popped off the page when I saw the roster for this team is we've got a new Lapine. We've got Bridger Lapine, who's a freshman, and he's not going to be starting on the team. He's not going to be doing much like that, but he is on this varsity squad. In your opinion, what do you think of having a freshman on the team? Do you think that's going to benefit the team in years to come, and what are you looking forward to when it comes to Bridger?
I mean, Bridger, I mean, he got the genes from Cutter. I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's a great shooter. I think he has a lot of things to learn, just how to run the point guard position. But you got anything, Kai?
I mean, he's definitely earned it. You know, we don't have a lot of freshmen that make the varsity team. Right. So for him to be there is definitely a great accomplishment for him. And he's gonna be on the varsity team for 4 years, so being able to learn. I know we've made a priority to kind of give all the younger guys everything that we know and be able to leave the program in a better place. So him being on that varsity team from year 1 is going to be great for the program going forward.
Something that I noticed last year is that, and I could be wrong here, but I feel like there was not a lot of footing in terms of what the team was. Were you a shooting team? Were you an inside team? You had your shooters, but you also had a lot of players on the inside, and there wasn't a ton of ball movement and things like that last year. Going into this year, what do you think the style's going to look like with a very new roster?
I think that's a big change we made from last year and why I have so much promise for this year. Obviously, I'm not going to go into specific game plan stuff before we've ever played a game, but I think with our personnel this year, we can play a lot faster. There's stuff we couldn't do last year, limitations we had by the type of players we had. This year, I think more importantly, we can play multiple styles. As we have bigs who can do multiple things. We have guards that can do multiple things. But this year, I think you'll see a lot more ball movement, a lot more faster style of play, which I think caters to us winning a lot more games.
Yeah, and that's the last question I'm actually going to have for you guys. This year, you're a much bigger team. How much is that going to help this team playing against 5A teams and 6A teams?
I mean, the more the merrier. And the taller height we have, like, rebounds are probably the most important part of the game. The more times you have the ball, the more chances you have to score. So any offensive rebounds we can get or keep them from getting offensive rebounds, that's going to be a big part for us. And, yeah.
Do you notice that there's a lot more bigs on the team this year compared to last year?
I mean, we definitely lost Verichok last year, and he's probably one of the better bigs we've had come through the program. But, I mean, Jake's a great rebounder. We have Duke also, and they're really good at rebounding. And I think we're all just have that mentality to crash the boards when the shot goes up, and we definitely go through that. So, yeah.
Well, fellas, we absolutely can't wait for it. Your season starts next week. We cannot wait for the season. Good luck, and we'll see you throughout the entire regular season and the postseason. Hey, thanks so much for watching The Scoreboard. On Tuesday, we're headed over to Sun and Ski Sports to get you geared up for the ski season.
We'll basically take a look at the skis, see what we have to do. If we have to do any base work, we'll take a look at that, make sure that that's going to be dialed in. That will add a little bit extra of a charge, just depending on the amount of work that we have to put into it. It starts off at 12 and then goes up further, just depending on the materials that we have to use. The other thing that we do is, if you're going to be doing a mount with us, we just want to make sure that we have the right jig for you to be able to do a mount. We have most jigs, so a lot of bindings we will be able to mount up for the customers. So we usually don't have an issue with that. And then after that, we basically will mount the skis or adjust the skis if that's what the customer is looking for. After that, once we get into a tune, what we do is we have them, it'll be ran over our belt and stone, adding some material underneath the bottom, just getting rid of the excess, and then just adding that good volume to it and pattern, basically. So a lot of skis will have that on the bottom. That way it helps them glide across the snow really easy, and basically we'll do that for everybody to start off. Then we have our edger right here. This is what's going to keep your edges pretty sharp. That way you're not having issues in that ice or compact snow. This will basically keep that life to where you're able to enjoy that and not be falling around a whole lot with that. And then we have our jet waxer right here. This is our final step. We'll run the skis, snowboards over this. This is our waxer right here. That's our buff. So we'll basically run it over this first, and then we'll run over that to add that smooth, kind of glossy finish to it. And then you'll be all set for that season.
For everyone here at The Scoreboard, I'm Blake O'Rulean, and we will see you all next time.